I'll start with, I grew up going to church. So my mom's side's from Cambridge, my dad's side's from Boston, and I grew up going to Abundant Life Church. It played a tremendous role in my life, and the reason I sit on this stage after going through tremendous hardship is because of what came out of that church. So my goal has always been, how can we connect the church and what you're doing with more residents in this community, regardless of where they go to church. And I think I've already had conversations with pastors, both here at Jubilee, at Morning Star, at some of the smaller churches, and I said one of the things you can do as a district city councilor is convene church leaders and do it consistently, to actually find out what is it that you're doing in your church over here that could benefit this church over here or benefit the congregation over here. And I think that doesn't currently happen. I said we could also come together to look at what resources do the churches have that could improve or meet the needs of residents in District 4. So for example, if a school is looking for mentors for young people, why not start with the church? Why not start with the people who come to this church? So I think there's a lot of creative partnerships that could happen. I think you have to start by one, bringing the churches within this district together more often, and then being creative about ways in which it can connect this church with the larger community.
That's powerful.
As a member of 12th Baptist Church, I'm well aware of the historic function of our religious institutions. I believe our churches should be a revolutionary force in our community. I believe that we should follow the example of those of our leaders who were truly rooted in the church. Most obviously, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who cared about the least of these and provided leadership that inspired not just the country but the world. That's the type of role I would like to see the church play. I believe the church can inspire people to get away from their lethargy and actually go to the polls on the election day. I believe that church, in addition to providing spiritual leadership, can serve as a gathering place for the community to solve community problems. I spent some time in Ghana. I learned about the role of the paramount chiefs and the religious leaders who stabilized the community if there was a problem with violence or other type of crises. That's my version of what I believe the church should perform in the city of Boston.
So Charles, what's the role of the church? What's the role of the black church, sir?
First of all, we have to understand the asset that we have in our community, and it's not just the church. We have the mosque, we have the synagogue, and we have others. We have to understand that we have to develop Boston's moral backbone. Duty to God should always come first in everything.
True.
The more we neglect the duty to God, the more the whole of society falls in despair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Without a moral backbone, the community cannot stand upright.
That's true.
Those creatures that have a backbone but cannot stand upright are known as four-legged beasts. Those creatures that have no backbone at all generally belong to the species called serpents.
Come on, listen.
It is written in Genesis that the beasts and serpents caused the fall of man.
Okay.
The destruction of the beasts and serpents are foretold in the book of Revelation. So the role is one of creating a backbone, but we have to understand that in our churches, in our mosques, in our synagogues, in our religious houses, we have the poor, the underserved, and the working class. And it's your duty as a church as a mosque, as a synagogue, to do the right thing and to have an upright people so that we can be victorious in this fight for an equal playing field.
Come on, let's pop it. Tito,
The first role, Pastor Brian, Pastor Matt, Pastor Mona,
yes, sir.
Pastor Cooper,
Yes, sir.
of the church is to pray. We need you to pray for us and for our city and for our leaders, but also the black church was and is the civil rights movement. It is literally synonymous with the civil rights movement. You cannot endorse a candidate, but you can definitely step forward and stand up for an issue. And so it is absolutely critical when we're speaking about our babies' blood that's flowing in the streets, that the church get outside the walls of the church and actually emulate the leader that we follow, who is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. That is the role of the church.
Wow. While you were talking, I heard a couple of amen. Somebody felt something they said in this room. Oh man, let's get into, you mentioned earlier, you started talking about 2024, you started talking about some of the things that you were calling to the carpet, some of the lack of transparency that we saw in our governing officials. Let me ask you guys this question. What would you do to address that hypocrisy or that lack of transparency that I feel like the community feels sometimes that's lacking when it comes to our governing officials, when it comes to leadership? Let's start here. We'll end down here. But I know you mentioned it earlier, but what would you do to help make things more transparent so that we feel like we know what's going on?
It is absolutely critical that your elected officials shine light on everything that's out there. The budget that we talk about, ladies and gentlemen, when you end your week, you get a check that has a big number at the top, and then at the bottom, there's like not so much money that's there. That's the budget. All of the money, the $3 billion, almost $3 billion that the city spends every year is your money. We should have an actual checkbook online so you understand where all of your money is going. We should also call out forces that are stealing our money, like charter schools in the city of Boston. We lost $104 million to charter schools last year. They got $104 million for 8,000 students. We got $107 million for 57,000 students. The formula is broken. I'm not saying I'm anti-charter, but you know what? I'm going to have to be anti-something that is reaching in the pockets of our young people and taking away their bright future and their education.
Charles, what do you do about making things more transparent? And I know you already, I've been on your radio show, so I already know.
Keeping it real. That's all we have to do is keep it real. We have to understand that the Bible talks about the people perish because of the lack of knowledge. When you present the facts to the mayor and the facts to the city council, they're there to do the right thing for the people, because the council is that link to the people. How is it possible that we bring these facts, our people are complaining of the issues and the concerns, but we're still the last to be hired, the first to be fired? There's something wrong with the system, which means that you need representation in City Hall that will speak truth to the perceived power, because there's only one power, and that power is God. Can the house say amen on that? Amen. We got to keep it real. See, one can turn hypocrite overnight. So even though you elect an elected official, and they might have the right intentions, somehow they get in there and they change. I have a proven record of not changing for my people. I have over 49 combined years of service to my people. Walking from Boston to Washington, D.C., to have a voice, not just in Boston, but across the country. And President Barack Obama signed the bill January the 4th, 2012, because I gave my life. We need representation that's going to serve and understand it's about service, 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 and not a paycheck of $87,500.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The city of Boston today can be viewed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When I was first elected, we did not have that opportunity to see what your legislative branch of city government was doing, but because of orders I filed and agitation and working with my colleagues, you can now tune in to Channel 8 and see what your elected officials are doing or what they're not doing. In addition to that, my office issues monthly newsletters. Some of you receive the emails. It's important. If you're going to be accountable, you have to let the folks know what you're working on and listen to their concerns as well, and we've done that. When I ran for office, I made a commitment to be your advocate in the fight. I said, why is it we don't have a police station? So we got together, we worked together, and we built that police station over initial objections from the mayor at the time. And the same with those other 3 projects that I've mentioned, including the library. And even though we've been successful in getting vote after vote in the city council to approve the building of a new high school, you need 9 votes, not 1. And I've gotten that done in the city council several times. Unfortunately, the mayor, the previous mayor, and even the current mayor have been able to, have failed to give that the priority that this committee demands. So we have to put pressure on every elected official, your 13 city councilors and the mayor, to make sure they're responding to the educational needs of our community. We will do that, and we will expose, at least I will continue to challenge my colleagues and the mayor to live up to their commitment to support our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I started this campaign with a 6-month listening series. So I was going around this district talking to residents, and I walked around with notebooks taking notes. And one of the biggest things I heard from residents who would point out their windows and say, look at that building, Andrea. I didn't know anything about that. Look at this, look at that. I knew nothing about that. So I immediately said, I want to develop and do things in response to what I hear from residents, and I want to put it in writing. So I wrote up a plan so people could look at our plan and say, where are you with those town hall meetings? Where are you with the campaign office or the district office that can hold me accountable? I want to deliver information to residents within 24 to 48 hours, so when I learn of it, they hear about it, so they don't point to buildings and say, I didn't know anything about that. I think we have to be creative in how we deliver information to residents. Some people don't watch television, some people don't go online, some people don't go on social media. So if I can door knock you, phone bank you during a campaign, I can door knock you and phone bank you so you know what's happening in your immediate neighborhood when you need to know about it. So that when you know that if there's a developer coming in talking about looking at a vacant lot and having a proposal there, that you know about that meeting, not the day of, a week before, a month before. So I think we have to be better at delivering information to our residents. I think we have to be more accessible. I give up my cell phone, people call me, they go, oh, it's you. I said, yes. I want people to feel as though they can get in contact with me directly, and I think we have to be more creative about how we do that. And I think I'm excited to do the work, but at the same time, I want it to always be practical. What we say we can, what we say we're going to do, we actually do it.
Just a quick poll. How many people, let's be completely honest, honesty. How many people here genuinely feel like you know exactly what a city councilor does? Raise your hand. How many people here can admit that you're not 100% sure what a city councilor does? You don't, okay, all right. How can, in 1 minute and 15 seconds, how can you explain in simple terms, and I know there are some things that each of you do, but then there's some things that you guys may do uniquely. You can let us know, educate us. But what does a city councilor do? What's our expectation of our city councilors? Help us with that.
So there are 13 city councilors. 9 of us are district councilors. We represent a neighborhood 4 of us are at large. I am a district councilor speaking about districts. And so we have about 70,000 people in our district. And city councilors do all of the stuff that you see. Most of it is not glamorous. Trash, lights, potholes. This time of year, young people not getting picked up by the Boston Public School buses. That's what we do. So we do the practical things that are in the city. In addition, the ordinances, that's a law in the city. The rules of the city are what we are responsible for. And lastly, we are responsible for what we spend. We have over a $2.8 billion budget. The mayor needs to get a majority of councilors to pass that budget. And we are there for financial accountability and to hold the mayor accountable for the dollars that get spent, how they get spent, where they get spent, and whether or not they're going to the right people.
Sir, I would add to what my opponent stated, is that we are that link between the people and the government. And we have to understand that the resources that are there, we have to bring back to our people, and to make you understand what your power is. A lot of people have been disconnected from government because of the broken promises year after year after year. However, your vote actually helps to shape the ordinances, the resolutions that are formed in the city council. A lot of people, our young people, the Joshua generation, you feel that this government hasn't done anything for you. However, it's time for us to have someone in office that's not afraid to ask the tough questions and find out where the money is. There's no reason why District 7, and I represent District 7, I live in District 7, pays more taxes than West Roxbury. And Roxbury doesn't look like West Roxbury.
True.
I am so tired on street cleaning days watching my people's cars get towed. And they gotta go all the way to Brighton, Austin, pay $133 to $153 to get your car back. And then on your car is a $70 ticket, a $50 ticket. And the street's not clean. As your city council, I say this is a fix. We can really fix this. Get those guys out the truck. Our brothers and sisters that come from behind the wall, give them a job, let them clean the streets. Let them pay their debt to society behind the wall, but also in the streets. Let's give them a job.
The responsibility of the City Council is to serve as the legislative branch of city government, just like the United States Congress is the legislative branch of national government. We're responsible for the budget and for making laws for the city of Boston. No public facility in the city of Boston can be built without a loan on it. That's a legislative process. That's how we built the police station. That's how we built the library. That's how we built Gallivan Community Center. That's how we built the Mildred Avenue Community Center. We also make the laws for the city of Boston. So whenever you see a Boston Public School bus, you can see a crossing gate on the front bumper. That's because Councilor Yancey proposed the law to require that on every bus. And I got a majority vote of the city council and the mayor to sign on to it. Some of you wonder why. You can't get free cigarette samples in the streets of Boston. Well, in 1984, it didn't make sense to me, Reverend, that we had people distributing these free cigarette samples to our children, wrote the law, got it passed, not realizing it was the first in the nation. That's why they invited me down to New York with the American Cancer Society to receive a citation. So the city council has those legislative responsibilities. However, I am your advocate in City Hall. So even if it's not written in law that we have a responsibility to advocate for you or to work with you in solving any community problems, that's what we do. That's what I've done with my great staff, including dozens of young interns so that they can get exposed to the legislative process and figure out how we're spending that $2.8 billion that this council approved. Thank you very much.
City Council.
So a district city councilor is the first point of contact in government. So it is the legislative body for the city of Boston. But when you pick up your phone and you have some constituent service concern, come get this tree, come get this trash, my street wasn't cleaned, or something else related to government, the first person you should call is your district city councilor. They're the persons who's most connected to your local neighborhood, to the ground. And I think to be a really great district city councilor, one, you have to be able to find your city councilor, you have to be able to call them.
Yeah.
I think we need to do more to open up the walls or the halls of City Hall to the district, inviting people to come there and make it feel like that place is not just for their electeds, but very much for them. We could be convening, or I want to convene civic heads at City Hall. We have active civic associations in Dorchester, Mattapan, Jamaica Plain, and Rosendale. We could be regularly inviting them into City Hall so that we're not only telling them what we're doing, they can actually see what we're doing, especially around the time of the budget. The budget is a complex process. When I was working for Governor Patrick as an attorney, I reviewed parts of the budget specifically related to education and transportation. And I think people in this community don't necessarily see that, and the voices are missing when we're pushing for certain proposals and certain monies to come to a district. So this campaign has always been about how to bring more resources from the city of Boston, from the greater Boston area, nationally from the state, into our community. And in order to do that, we have to invite residents to come in, and I want them to come into City Hall with me.
They told us, now we know, district, what district are you? There you go, call counselor. Thank y'all so much. Oh, Jesus. Okay, listen, I want to make sure that everyone is respecting everybody's time. I don't want to keep you guys here all night. How's everybody doing? Everybody's doing good? Is this educational? Is it powerful? All right, listen, I'm going to ask two more questions in regards to youth, and then we'll just take a few questions. We don't have all the time in the world for a line of questions, just a couple maybe if we can get to them, but I want to do due diligence and make sure I ask a couple of questions in regards to our youth, and we'll start here. It was mentioned earlier about charter schools. Are you for charter schools? What's the role of charter schools versus public schools? I know that's a lot something that's on the minds of our teens and their parents, and because it does seem like there is a difference in the level of support that both schools are getting, or both systems are getting. So can you talk a little bit about that and sort of what our role is and what your role is in causing some type of change?
So the role of first of all, charter schools are under the state. So the district city councilor has no authority or power to do anything directly over a charter school. They are chartered under the state. They are under the state. But that being said, a district city councilor's role is to improve the traditional Boston Public Schools in District 4. So when I put out my plan, it specifically talks about how do we do that. There are 20 plus schools in District 4. They are considered some of the worst performing schools in the entire city of Boston.
Oh, Lord.
District 4 is predominantly a district of color. It is also, relative to Boston, a poor district. So poverty and race definitely play a role in the current state of affairs of our schools in District 4. And I think we need to talk about that.
Yes.
While we're having these systemic conversations about that, at the same time, what are we going to do with our individual schools to make them better?
Yeah.
We could be convening our school leaders, our parents, our teachers 4 times a year, consistently, hearing from them what is it that you need to improve your individual school. Maybe you're trying to build a library. Maybe you need more mentors. Maybe you need more resources. I want to convene school leaders to hear from them and then to push the city, the school committee, to meet those needs. At the same time, I want to partner with nonprofits, foundations, organizations to make sure that happens as well. There are so many resources, billions of dollars flowing through this city where they could be flowing into our traditional public schools if we proactively go after them. Orchard Gardens has an individual board for their school. We could be creating those board of director kind of things for our traditional public schools. In my plan, I put a lot more than I could talk about in 60 seconds. So I encourage everyone to do that.
Okay.
Yes, I will answer the question that you asked. Charter schools were created as a laboratory for best practices in education. They were not created to replace the Boston Public Schools. They were not created to drain precious resources from the public school system. However, what has evolved, and we have to be very careful about this, is the privatization of education in the city of Boston to the detriment of current and future students of the Boston Public School System. So I believe that you deserve, everyone who took the time to come out to this forum, you could be doing many other things, you deserve a real answer to that question. Charter schools, they have some good aspects and they have some negative aspects. And they are held up as some type of paragon, some type of panacea, when just the opposite is the case. Students who graduate from the Boston Public School System actually have a higher rate of graduating from college than from charter schools. So don't believe the hype. It's a money grab, and it's going to hurt our children if we don't put that under control. The Boston Public Schools will be privatized, much like so many other previously public institutions like Boston City Hospital. That's now a private, nonprofit institution. Schools will be as well, unless we get this under control.
I want to say, you made it just you felt that? Did you feel that? It was like, hey, amen. All right. So charter schools, public schools.
I support the Boston Public Schools because I graduated from the Boston Public Schools. I attended the Boston Public Schools. Some of my children went to the Boston Public Schools. And the only reason why the others did not go to the Boston Public Schools is because they were going to send my child to a Tier 4 school. And I wasn't going to stand for that. And you might ask, well, what's a Tier 4 school? Well, you have Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. Just look at it like a report card. Tier 1, A school. Tier 4, D, F school. As a parent, I was not going to allow my child to go to a Tier 4 school. So I enrolled my child into the METCO. Brookline, which is right next door, has public schools. They don't have charter schools. What we have to look at is how successful Brookline has been with their public schools. They invest in the education of their children. Not that to go to school to make some money, but to go to school to be and come back and give back to your community. We have to understand that an elected school committee, having people from the community, is part of that success. I support that. I support Madison Park High School because I graduated from Madison Park High in '79, which is near and dear to my heart. But it became a vocational school 16 years ago with 39 trades in it. However, now it has 19 trades. Worcester Vocational School, and a vocational school is a trade school because not all of our children are book savvy. I graduated from Sidewalk University. I knew that was going to go with some people's head. Madison Park High School, 19 trades. They have never, ever, ever worked on any of the economic development in our community. The building of police headquarters, the building of Ruggles Station, the building of the SICK building, the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and some of us have selective amnesia where Northeastern almost got it for $1. The building of Whittier Street, the building of Tropical Foods, the building of B2, right around the corner. And then the building of the school committee building. Listen, we're talking about doing what's right and inspiring, empowering our children. As your city councilor, I have I will continue to work with the executive director of Madison Park High, who I'm facilitating now to have a relationship with the developers and the contractors in our community. It has to start now. If we really want change, we have to want it like it's our next breath. We have to want the best for our future and understand that our children may only be 30% of the population, yet 110% of now and the future.
I am an unapologetic proponent of public school education in the city of Boston, but that doesn't mean that I don't root for young people who are in charter schools.